we just don't come as often, and then they may not ever feel like coming again. And what else is happening? From our perspective as pastoral leaders, this is the time when they're going to start to put into place practices, household traditions, or not put them in place. So whether they're seasonal, many of them are seasonal, like Christmas, Advent traditions. Do you have an Advent wreath? What do you do in Lent or Easter? What do you do in terms of prayers at meals? So this is all going to start happening in these very early years. And so this is a good time for them to start, because it's going to be harder, for us to kind of backtrack and say, oh, well, let's start this now that you have a 5-year-old. Oh, we're going to start doing this at our meals. Okay, so this is a good time for us to coach them when it's easy to start these kinds of practices. And these are super busy people as well. So we need to kind of know that this is what's going on. Okay, so there's a lot of different things that we can do. We usually don't really think about this age group, but if we're coaching the parents and not as much focusing on the kids, if we're focusing more on the parents, then it's more important for us to do something during this time period. Okay? So we put together this little very simple resource called After the Plunge. The idea here is for the folks who have gone through baptismal preparation or other young families to stay in touch with them, to keep a relationship with them. Like, we care about what you're going through at the parish. So what it is it gives you templates for letters, where we write up letters for 4 times a year. You mail them out in the actual mail, postal mail. Okay? And we give you some leaflets that coach them along for things that are relevant to what they're going through as parents of young children at that point. Okay? So we're going to remind them about and kind of coach them about, well, you can start doing things in the home. And we're going to give them some tips. Short and simple. They're not going to read a whole lot. We're not going to assume a whole lot. But okay, here's the topics that we do. So tips for bringing your little one to church. Okay? Like tips from parents who have gone through it, saying, well, what kind of strategies can you use if you have that wiggly kid? Okay? And a lot of things around building a household of faith and things that are encouraging them to keep a faith connection for themselves. Okay? So a lot of these things are seasonal, getting started with an Advent wreath. Here's how you do it. Simple ideas for Lent and celebrating Easter, but also things that happen, during the summer months. Okay, so just a little idea. We put it together for you inexpensively so you have a starting point. You can edit the letter, put little personal notes in there to stay connected to these folks, and then we're trying to make them feel like they're actually members of the parish. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about this period that happens both before and after the sacramental preparation, the normal faith formation, most of what we do. So there's some different models that we can use. So here's the typical learning model, right? So here's the catechists up here. Here's the kids. The parents just drop them off, and they're going to run to their cars to go shopping. Okay? So that's what we do most of the time now. Okay, so here's some alternative models. So a whole family or community catechesis model will have the families gathered together, and just like I talked about with that growing up Catholic sacramental prep process, right? The families gather together, and you give them some activities or some things to do where they learn together. And we're trying to coach the parents and have them practice in the context of the parish. We want them to be doing more at home, but we're going to have them practice in front of us. Okay? And we may include other adults in this sort of process. It may be a whole family thing where we invite the whole parish to learn about. For example, we have a resource for learning together about mercy for this year of mercy. That's a whole community approach. Another model is parent sessions. So in this model, you still send the kids off to catechists where they work together, but then the parents stay and they gather and we coach them and talk about so that they actually know what their kids are learning about. And then we coach them to say, well, how can you bring this into the home, or how can you talk about them afterwards? Another approach or a term you should be aware of is learning centers. So this is a whole family approach, but you set up different activities on different tables, okay? And then you have the families rotate to these different activities through the time period of the whole session. So we have some books that are designed that have specific activities that work well for this kind of model. Many of you are probably familiar with that term, but But that's another way. So it can be self-paced or it can be timed, where you say like every 10 or 15 minutes, then you say, okay, move on to the next one. So we have some resources for doing both the both the whole family approach to learning and the parents learning on their own, that are based on the following themes from the General Directory for Catechesis. So any kind of curriculum that you're using right now from any of the major Catholic publishers are following these basic themes, right? It's the same things because they're all coming from the Catechism. So what we did is we took each of those themes and we said, well, we're going to create a whole family session for each one, and we're going to create a parent session for each one. So you could be using your regular curriculum, and you could choose one session for each of those modules, like once a month, and gather the whole family together so they're all learning about it. Or you can pick one of the weeks where the kids are in their sessions and teach the parents about it while they're just gathering on their own. So that's what the whole family model looks like. That's what the resource actually looks like for all the families learning on those. And this is what the one looks like for the parents. Oops. And that's the one for the parents. And so for the parents, it's actually learning centers where they go to different, so there's a different center based on the age of their child. And there's an additional center that's specific to if there's liturgical or seasonal connections for that particular topic. Anyway, we can show you examples of these if you're interested. And there's actually some examples. You can learn more about it if you sign up for the kit from the page that's going around. And there are many different options for learning centers. These are some of the books that are from 23rd publications that make it easy for you to do this. And we have some examples at our booth if you're interested to see what they really look like inside. We also have some resources that you can send home, which we recommend doing if you're doing the overall process so the parents know and are kind of buying into what you're doing, but this helps them go a little bit further. And these are very simple handouts. Again, if they're too long, they're not going to read them. So very simple topics on faith, scripture-based topics, seasonal topics, etc. Okay, so to succeed in this kind of approach, you need the leadership and vision to see where you're going. You need to find parent-friendly resources that are actually going to work for them and coach them along. And you're going to need to motivate the parents to jump in. Okay, so let's talk about that last one just a little bit as we close here. So, marketing. Try something like this. In today's world, a lot of people are talking to your children about God. Shouldn't you be one of them? Come to St. Mary's and we'll show you how. Or something like, give your child what really matters. Share your Catholic faith. Come and we'll show you how. But what we need to do is we need to set high enough expectations. Because if we say, well, we'd really like it if you would take part, but of course you don't really have to, they're going to stoop to your expectations, right? And if you say, well, we don't really want to make you mad or anything, but this is really your job, but of course we'll do it for you if you don't want to, then they're going to stoop to those expectations, and you're going to get lackluster results. So what works is to make personal invitations, especially for parents who have, once you've gotten your process started, the parents who have gone through this process before, they're the best people to extend invitations to the next parents coming in and talking about how it was from them. And you change the ground over time, because the parishes who have shifted to this kind of model, it just becomes the new norm, and parents start expecting it and really appreciating it, because this is what works, and their kids get excited about it. And one of the easiest ways to get started is through the sacramental preparation process, because you have a little bit of that extra leverage. They expect that they're going to be a little bit more involved. They expect they'll have to do something, and they want that sacrament to happen. So you just tell them, this is how the process works at this parish, and then they'll understand when they go through it. So here's your 4 next steps to send you on. First, if you want to get your free resources, make sure you've signed up on that sheet. We're going to send you notes from what was in this presentation, but a bunch of other tools. It's going to give you a handout you can give to your pastor that just explains this approach very simply, just on a single page, and a bunch of other free resources. So So those are the kind. It gives you a planning guide, so you can think about how you might roll out this kind of process in your parish. Sample parent handouts, etc. It even gives you a PowerPoint presentation if you want to give this to like your catechist or other leaders in your parish or deanery or whatnot. Okay. The second one is that the Growing Up Catholic website has a lot of additional resources, and that's going to show you everything we've been able to find that would support you in this kind of an approach. Third, use that planning guide that's in the kit to think about and kind of plan, okay, how do I get started? Just one thing at a time. You know, maybe you build and add one thing per year, or however you want to do it. But it's going to help you organize how you think about that approach. And finally, just get started. You have to start somewhere. Pick one thing, one area where you're going to get started. You know, most often it's sacramental prep is what we've found in terms of parishes that want to roll it out. But maybe it's a monthly learning center session that you want to do. Maybe you want to take our Year of Mercy whole family session and try doing that and see what happens with that. Okay? But pick something and then think long term about what you can add. And just remember, you have to set the expectations and tell the parents about what we're trying to do and tell them that they can do it. Because they're gonna rise up to those expectations. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. Feel free to visit us in the exhibit center. We're the Pastoral Center booth. We also have some great resources for the Year of Mercy, on creation care, Lent, seasonal resources, and a lot of catechist resources. So we'd love to chat with you more in detail. Thanks so much. I'm happy to answer questions here, but I know we're right at 2 o'clock. So we'll let those folks who want to move on go. Okay? Thank you so much.